when you look at these recent Meta numbers, you hear about the changes that, the impact that a company like Apple is having. Does it just boggle your mind how different Meta is today than the company that you started covering, 15 years ago?
It's shockingly different, but it's shockingly different than it was a year ago, as Jasmine Engberg was saying earlier on your program. It is amazing to think of the essentially steady decline this company has experienced in a lot of different ways ever since they changed their name and declared that they were preparing for the metaverse future. It is really stunning, though, looking at what's happened today. I mean, the stock was down 60% before today's action, and today, since this morning, the stock is down more than 20% in one day. And last I checked, after hours, it was still declining. It was 108 something just a second ago. This is a company whose stock was 380 something very, very recently. It is just stunning. I mean, but I think a lot of it can be traced to essentially an absence of governance. Most companies have a more collaborative managerial approach where a board actually gets to tell the CEO what they think. That is not the case here.
An absence of governance or an over-ambitious, overreaching Mark Zuckerberg?
Well, obviously those two things go together. Mark Zuckerberg is a brilliant leader and a great product person, and I think really a genius in many ways, but he is obsessed with the wrong thing. One of the other things that Jasmine Engberg said that I thought was really interesting was this idea that a lot of social media innovation is underway right now. But so what did this company do? Instead of trying to innovate more in social media, they decided to innovate in something completely new. If they had been spending all this money they've been spending on the metaverse to try to come up with new social media products, especially at a time when they're not allowed to buy anything by regulators, that would probably have been a way more advantageous approach and much more acceptable to investors.
Gotta ask you, since we saw Elon Musk walking into Twitter headquarters today with a kitchen sink, and Twitter could be a private company in 48 hours. How do you think Elon Musk and Zuckerberg, who actually I know, they don't like each other very much, but interesting. I'm curious how you compare their approaches.
Well, you've got to give Musk credit for having a sense of humor. I mean, the kitchen sink could mean a lot of things.
But is this in good taste? Not that, he's known for that. Especially if 75% of the company they're going to lose their jobs.
Well, that's true. Look, I'm not saying you should make light of the fact that possibly thousands of people at Twitter are going to lose their jobs. I absolutely don't think that. But, business is generally too self-important and has too grave of a view of itself. And this is an aspect of Elon Musk that I actually kind of appreciate. He tries to just be an ordinary person going about his day, changing the world and buying companies for $45 billion. So, it is amusing. You can't deny. There was an interview in the Financial Times over the weekend where he was asked, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Aren't you amused?" That was his response. He wants to amuse us. And look, it is at the cost sometimes of some serious people that have real consequences. But on balance,
well, right. And it's not just the people, the people which are really important. What about public discourse? Are you at all concerned? Like, the future of public discourse is not a joke and shouldn't be treated like a joke, right?
It's impossible not to be concerned, but we really don't know what he's going to do. He said so many different things. A lot of them are impractical. Some of them, as I've mentioned on the show before, are appealing to me, like giving genuine identity to users. I don't view it as a potential unmitigated disaster that Elon Musk might control Twitter. It sounds like an idiotic disaster to lay off 75% of the employees, because I can't imagine the company could continue to operate responsibly if that were to occur. And I honestly don't expect that to happen. It's the kind of thing he says shooting from the hip. We'll have to watch. Twitter is a company that needed radical surgery. They're certainly going to get it. I don't think any of us can really know what happens next.